Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome. Glad to have you tonight. Starting here in about a minute. Lots of great people online. Hi Ted. Hi Sydney. Hi Steve. Some idiot. I love it. Hi Jessica. Hi John. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Lots of people coming in. So Steve, nod your head if you can hear me, please. Steve Harrington. And try to unmute yourself and let me hear your voice, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Terrific. Appreciate that. How's my sound quality for you, sir?
It sounds fine. I'm using my phone to get the sound so I'm not skipping. My computer sometimes glitches out. So, but I'm using my computer as well. So
Great.
I hope that.
Great. All right. Thanks. If you go back to mute, that'd be great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey guys, it's 7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Larry Ferris, the bald, beautiful guy you see up on the screen. Hi, Brenda Watson. Good to have you. Tony, thanks for showing up. Janelle Murphy. Hi, Janelle. We spoke a little bit earlier today. So I'm hoping that everybody's somewhat familiar with the Zoom stuff. Right now, everybody's kind of have control over your own microphones. It looks like you're all on mute. That's a standard setting just so we don't have a bunch of background noise. But whenever you want to talk, just jump in. It's going to be pretty informal. My intention is to go for 40, 45 minutes tonight and no longer. I know it's pretty late in the Idaho-Utah corridor and Colorado or something like that. It's even worse. So let's just jump into it. My name is Larry Ferris. I've been in the tax business. My first tax year was in 2012. I started that in 2013. I focus exclusively on small businesses. Most of my practice is around real estate investors, real estate agents, the very small business person. And I love it because that's where I provide a great amount of influence, great impact for those folks. And my wife has been and she'd have been on tonight, but she's in a cancer support group that she's helping to coach and such tonight. So she's on her own thing. But my wife has been the organizational structural portion of our practice, and she's been doing our bookkeeping for us. And several months ago, I started praying about how I could provide a better retirement for my family, and especially for my wife. Because look at me, I'm not in the best, physical shape, big guy here. And something came into my heart to really develop out this bookkeeping stuff for people. And I think this is going to be a terrific thing. But my wife is our primary bookkeeper, and I guarantee is the wrong word. I can tell you, it's very common for her to earn, $75, $50, $75, $100 an hour in her bookkeeping practice. If we're doing an annual review, frequently can be $100 an hour. If we're doing monthly, it could easily be $50 an hour. And people are like, how do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you, but I'm just trying to say that's what the purpose of this class is to help you. What's the objective? I would like you, right down here, 5 new clients. I'd like to coach you and help you to get comfortable with your accounting, get comfortable with the software, get quick enough at it, and develop some clients in the next few months so that you've got 5 clients and you've got the skill set in place so you can service those clients and make $50 an hour or more. Now, that doesn't mean, and if I'm talking too fast, just listen quicker. And it's recorded. Oh, I think it's recorded. Let me get this going. I should do that. Stop recording project. This was supposed to be set up for recording. Yeah, I think we're all recorded. Looks like it's recorded. So the intent is that you could listen to it again, and I'll cover things fairly quickly so that I'm covering the ground we need to cover. So I have a bachelor's degree in business. I've been doing taxes for years. My wife does our bookkeeping. She has no problem making $50 an hour or more, and that's our kind of introduction. This recording could likely be used with high school age kids, etc., as their parents. I'm connected pretty well with the homeschool groups, and so I can see 16-year-olds doing some training in this regard. And so let's try to refrain from adult content or adult language throughout our conversations. That'd be great. So what's the class objective? Well, I want you to get 5 clients And I want you to gain the bookkeeping skills. I'm not saying I want you. I'm going to help you. We're going to get through this process to help you get the bookkeeping skills you need to flow on Excel, to understand what tax accounting codes are, to gain some Excel skills. Some of that you may have to do on your own, but there's plenty of resources. To know how to use file management, file attachments, how to communicate with your client, and the type of reports we would typically have. And that's kind of the bookkeeping skills. And the question is, well, software skills. We've got some specialized software that I think you guys can get really excited about and what we need to do with those. And some marketing skills, what the messaging is, where to bring the messages, how to find those clients and bring them in. Some onboarding skills, how to use a contract to bring in your clients, etc. And are you seeing my screen or my face?
We can see both.
Okay, all right. So I was like, I'm referencing the screen. I thought, well, if you're just seeing me, that doesn't do me no good. And business skills, and that's kind of an overview of what we're planning to do. So I've said welcome. I told you about myself. I've given you an overview. Your turn. Questions about me, questions about the class. Go.
I just joined in a minute ago. Would this be a good class just to do my own bookkeeping? Because I'm not interested in becoming a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
The job. So would this be useful for that?
Yeah, it'll in the first 4 weeks or so, you should get comfortable enough that you'd be able to do your own bookkeeping. You bet. Who is this? I didn't see it come up on the screen.
Kathy Halls.
Hi, Kathy. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
And by the way, there was multiple people that kind of got time frames messed up tonight, so nobody's alone on that one. Any other questions? Frank, were you trying to talk? I didn't hear you because it was on mute. Nope. Okay. Any other questions or comments, thoughts? Okay. All right. So what I want to have people kind of understand is how do we make $50 an hour? And how do we do that from anywhere? I mean, we're not in this to be poor. I love to serve my clients, but at the same time periods, we have to make money in this life, right? So how do we make $50 an hour? Well, if you look at, the typical hiring status, you're going to work for a job, you're going to be a bookkeeper, it's not very well paid. It's not very well paid. But if you're working as an independent bookkeeper, serving in the right area, it can be really terrific. And so the first question we have to ask is, who's the right client that can afford and is willing to pay us $50 an hour? And I see that client, I call that client as a euphemism or a kind of a funny way of saying it. That client to me is Chuck in a truck, right? Chuck in a truck. It just kind of flows with Chuck in a truck. And we all know those guys, right? It's Chuck in a truck. It's Chuck's driving around all day. He's got tools or equipment of some sort, and he's doing stuff around town on his own or with a buddy. Very limited business savvy, typically using hammers and nails or saws or trimmers or pool cleaning supplies. They're hands-on people who are in business, being self-employed, but not terribly sophisticated. And God bless them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying is that they're most likely to need help, right? And there's that whole category of small business person that they're technicians first. They're really typically quite good at what they do, fixing cars or cleaning, doing landscaping or trimming trees or whatever they're going to do. They're pretty good at it. But what they're not good at, if they're hands-on type people, they don't like the paperwork and they don't do it. And when they don't do it, here's what happens. At the end of the year, who can tell me when it comes to tax season, what happens to Chuck in a truck? Somebody open the mic and tell me what you think happens when Chuck in a truck goes to tax guy.
He gets frantic and freaks out.
Freaks out. Does he have his records together?
No.
No. And so he literally freezes up for an entire week, does no business, kicks his cat 3 times, and comes to his accountant with a really shabby set of numbers, right? I've seen people come into my office with like $6,000 in deductions when I know they've got 40. And out of those $6,000 in deductions, probably 2,000 are wrong, right? So that's what Chuck in a truck faces, and I'm just using that phrase. It's Sally, Tim, whatever, right? But there's a whole group of people that are operating their own businesses and at a level that they typically make pretty good money, but they have a challenge when it comes to the paperwork side of their business. Can you guys think of anybody in your life who's a Chuck in a truck type personality, a good technician, but wouldn't be good at all at their paperwork? Just nod your head. You think of somebody, Raise a hand, whatever. Yeah, you got it, right? That's the person we're serving. And I'm not ripping off Chuck in a truck. I'm not ripping him off. I go to Chuck and I say, Chuck, look, so what problem do we solve for Chuck? We solve multiple problems. And the way you want to communicate with Chuck is in that multiple problem solution mode. It's that Chuck has a problem and that he doesn't do his books along the way. Chuck has a problem is he can't find receipts. Chuck has a problem that at the end of the year, he just literally loses a week of work trying to put this whole stuff together. He does get angry and frustrated enough to kick the cat, and that's never good. And then he ends up at his accountant's office, his tax accountant's office, with a fraction, with a small number of the total deductions that he should have. And if you repeat that story, to most Chuck in a trucks, they're going to be nodding their head like this. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So what we do is we offer to solve Chuck's problem by doing his tax-oriented bookkeeping for him throughout the year. And Chuck, the benefit for you is you're going to have all your records in order. You're going to have everything ready to go to your CPA. The only thing we're going to need to get from you is things like your 1099 documents that you'll get mailed to you, and probably vehicle mileage, some sort of register from that. So we really simplify, excuse me. I don't know how to mute, so I just did that. We really simplify Chuck's stress, and we really simplify Chuck's accounting needs, his tax accounting needs. So there's two solutions going on here. One is you're taking the stress off the table. That's huge for that person. And then secondly, you're helping them to get more deductions than they probably would have found and able to document. So if you charge Chuck $100 a month, how much is that per year? $1,200, right? Do you think it's likely that you're going to find Chuck, if you're doing it every single month and tracking everything, is it likely you're going to find Chuck $1,200, an additional $10,000 in deductions? Actually, for him, it would take another 5 or 6. Do you think you would find $5,000 or $6,000 more in deductions for typical Chuck than he would find on his own? Now, you may not know the answer, but the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. When you're doing the books on a monthly basis and you're looking at what the expenditures are and you're trained to find the right expenditures, you should be able to find Chuck a whole lot more expenses than what he's finding on his own. The end result is, because Chuck is subject to both self-employment tax and federal tax, he's at about a 35% tax rate. So if you charge Chuck $1,000 for the year, all you got to be able to do is save him about $4,000, or find him another $4,000 in deductions, and that will end up typically showing enough savings that your costs are free. And so that's how we approach Chuck in a truck. Chuck in a truck is, so I'm going to do a little quiz here, see who's listening. I'm going to drop down a little bit, find somebody. So Tony, can you tell me what I mean when I'm saying Chuck in a truck?
So it's a small business owner who doesn't have the time to do the paperwork and all of that stuff on his own. Somebody like me. I'm trying to learn this.
That's right. Who wants to learn it? Okay, thanks, Tony. If you mute off, I'll go down and find somebody else. So who can tell me why our services could end up being free to the typical Chuck in a truck? Who can help me understand that? We charge him $100 a month, but he ends up paying us nothing at the end of the year. How does that work?
The money you save him and the deductions he was missing trying to do it on his own, you find those deductions, you bring it to him, and essentially it means all the charges that we charge him are a wash, and plus he's probably making money.
Absolutely, that's right. So what we should both be, you as the tax advantage bookkeeper and me as a tax preparer, we should both typically add more value to our client than we charge. That's our typical approach, is to help them to add more value than they charge, right? So summary really quickly, how do we make $50 an hour? Well, we find the client who needs a tax-oriented bookkeeper. Here's the other thing, I'm not gonna train you tonight or throughout this class. We're not gonna do things like full cycle bookkeeping involving accounts receivables, accounts payables, reconciliation statements, things like that. That doesn't pay. That's kind of compliance work that big corporations have to do to track everything, but that does not pay. What pays is solving the problem for the practitioner who isn't good at doing their books. That's where the money is, right? And then what you do is you do it for a bunch of practitioners in a single month, so that you end up earning a pretty decent income. Now, I don't want to do bookkeeping full time. It's not my thing. I'm too creative. Most people I know don't ever do bookkeeping full time. Even those that work in corporations, they like look for other things to do one day a week or something, right? So, so I'm not proposing anybody jump into this and do a full time gig. But if you're a parent and you got kids at home, the idea that you can make $1,000 or $2,000, and I'm not trying to sell you, I just want to gain your attention. The idea you can make $1,000 or $2,000 a month while your kids are sleeping is quite real, right? And there's nothing to buy here. I just want to gain your attention, so you focus in, you kind of put your shoulder into it, because it's going to take us several weeks to kind of get through this. So what are we doing? We're trying to make $50 an hour or more. How are we doing it? Well, we're selecting the right client. We're solving a big problem for them. And then what does it cost for our services? I like to take the position of 0. It may not be, and I'm not lying to anybody. I don't mean it that way. I like to take the position of 0. We ought to, at the end of the day, our services ought to be more beneficial than where you're at. You see what I'm saying? For the right client, that'll frequently be true. If you walk into somebody who's got perfect books, no, you're not gonna save them a ton of money. You're just gonna replace a service they've already had in place. But for the chuck in the truck type person, you typically are gonna save them quite a bit of money. Okay. So then how does it work? Well, what we want to do is we want to bill by the month on a project by project basis, and then use robots to get the work done. Okay. So I'm going to pause again, listen for any questions, any hand raises, any loud applause and cheers are appropriate at this time if you'd like. There we go. Yay, got a few. Frank, thanks for the big grin. That's pretty cool. All right, so any questions at this point about where we've gone?
Hey, Larry, you might be getting into this later, but how do we find the chuck in the truck? Is it just we go with, do we do marketing for that?
Yeah, I will help you find that. We'll do a whole section on marketing, free marketing. I don't ever want to pay for marketing to find chuck. They're all over the place, right? So some people, to be honest, I live in Yuma, Arizona, right? And so everywhere I go, I'm going to see somebody working on landscaping, somebody working on pools, somebody who's an independent HVAC guy, somebody who's an independent fence builder, somebody who's you see what I'm saying? Everywhere I go. So if I just have business cards in my car, and it's hot in the summer, so if I walk up to them with an ice cream, and my wife and I just did this on the way home the other day, we just saw 2 contractor types and had a couple of ice creams that we bought at the Sam's Club that's still in the cooler box, and we just had a couple of ice creams. Hey, how you doing? Chatted, that kind of stuff. That's a little overt for some people. You can tell my personality is, I'm kind of fearful and timid, if you can tell. So if you're not, I think Facebook's going to be fine. Your friends and family referrals are going to be fine. It doesn't take that many clients, and then your clients will be so happy they start referring you business as well. Hey, you got to go with my guy. Oh, you got to go with my gal. It's been huge for me building my practice. So that's probably no cost marketing, and your client is really all over the place. You can find them on Facebook. You probably won't find them, but you'll find their wife or spouse. You'll find somebody else who's related to them. They'll chime in. Go from there. What else? What else we want to ask? Am I so completely clear that everybody's like got it spot on? I don't think so. I don't do it that well. Okay. All right. So let's show you where our first, so we did is kind of how to, okay, let me ask you this. Would you kind of give me some input? Are you convinced, do you believe that there's $50 an hour to be made here as a bookkeeper? Is there doubt in your mind? So Sydney Kelsey, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, hello, pretty girl. Have I convinced you? Sorry, I'm 56, right? So I'm getting a little slack, right? So, is there any doubt in your mind about the potential to earn $50 an hour? What we're doing here?
Yeah, a little.
Okay, tell me about that, because you'll speak for everybody. Sydney's
Oh,
the
boy.
official spokesperson.
I don't know if I want to speak for everybody. But I mean, I have a bachelor's degree as well in business management, and I have a hard time leveraging that kind of money per hour with my bachelor's degree. So I feel like it seems unattainable to me with my experience in job hunting.
Yes. Okay. So it seems, I'm glad, I want to pound this up. It seems unattainable. I guess the piece you haven't seen yet is how fast we are. You see, if somebody turns you over their books and it's a small amount of books and you charge $50 a month, most people are like, wow, that's cheap, right? I mean, I'm on a variety of bookkeeping groups, and a lot of my bookkeeping peers are charging $200, $250 minimal, right? But they're doing a bigger job, right? So let's say you've got somebody who's got 60 or 80 line items, and you charge them $50 a month. And let's say that you make an agreement with them that you're going to give them quarterly reports, and you're going to make sure they get everything finished up every quarter, right? So it's every 3 months. So effectively, you're getting paid $150 per quarter, right? Sitting with a business degree, right? I study management. Yep. Wait, okay. Now, what if it only takes you an hour and a half to finish that work?
That would be impressive.
It is.
I think $50 an hour, yeah.
Right, and so that's the good point. Let me show you what the slow way is, and then let me show you what the fast way is, okay? Because what we do is we use robots to do most of the work, right? Most people don't know, but that's what I'm training people to do. I want to show you how the robots work and how the things do, so you can get amazing efficiency in how you're going to business, right? That's the key, and I probably didn't do a good job. So does that help, City? Could you at least put oh, Kimberly, go. Kimberly Nelson.
Okay, sorry, we wanted to not interrupt. This is actually Amber. I'm with my mom. When I was 18, my boss had a friend who needed somebody to do like payroll stuff for him, and he paid me $200 a week. Sometimes it took me 5 hours, sometimes it took me 2. So I was getting paid very well for the hour. Occasionally.
And that was a small engineering firm?
Yeah, he did. He was like a subcontractor in construction, but he just was not a paperwork guy. And I didn't even work in his office. He'd send me pictures of all the stuff I needed. Sorry, I have a lot of baby. But yeah, he'd send me pictures, and it's just, some people are willing to, because it would take him 10 hours. So he was totally willing to pay me whatever it took so he didn't have to do it.
Terrific. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Amber. Good talk to you, and congrats on the baby, and glad mom's out there and stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so Sydney, I'm not calling you in any way out. You're a great gal, and you voice what people need to hear. Hey, my BS meter's spiking here, really, right? Unfortunately, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you how to do it the slow way, which is going to be more convincing in Sydney's position of like, I've never been able to leverage $50 an hour. Never been able to do it. So I need to show you how to do bookkeeping from a kind of a caveman rudimentary standpoint, so you understand the principles. And then from those principles, we can show you how to use robots to do most of your work, but you still have to understand the principles. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm about to move away from, hey, are we going to make $50 an hour, to show you how not to make $50 an hour, but just to teach the principles. Can everybody give me a chance to like show the principles and realize this is a slow boat? We've actually got a rocket plane, but right now we have to get on the boat and kind of row. Does that make sense? She's got a thumbs up. Other people. Okay, good stuff. So let me grab a file. That'll work. Okay, so this file's coming over. You guys all see an Excel spreadsheet now? Okay, so here's what I would do if I start out with a client and I'm doing manual slow boat bookkeeping. The first thing I would do is I would not start with their receipts. And everything I'm giving you is as much sizzle and as much secret sauce as I can, right? I want you to succeed. So the first thing, I would not start with receipts, and I wouldn't start with invoices and all kind of stuff. I would start with their bank statements. So if you look at this, what this is a sterilized, it's not complete. You see a lot of things are taken out. It's a sterilized bank statement. And so what we're trying to do here with the bank statement is we pull it down out of their bank account, and it comes pretty much like what you see: date, description, and amount. And sometimes there'll be extra junk in there, but typically we'll have a bank statement. We'll have date, description, and amount, okay? And then what we need to do is we need to say, well, and first of all, the first thing I did is I would get rid of all income off this spreadsheet. I don't need to account for income the same way I account for expenses. I will probably have a spreadsheet, and I'll just dump the income. I'd sort it first, and I'd dump the income into a separate tab, because I'm just gonna mess with that later. I'll just sum up later. Where the real work is in figuring out how to go through and account for this. So what we do is we say, well, let's come up with a tax code And when I'm saying tax code, what I'm referring to is that the purpose of tax-related accounting, and that's what we're really going to focus, the purpose of tax-related accounting is to put information together in such a way that the tax preparer, CPA, enrolled agent, whoever they choose to use, that person can then use that information to prepare an accurate return. So, but the tax person isn't going to start with 800 rows of information of bank statement. What we do is prepare a summary of that bank statement. It's called a profit and loss statement. Okay, so a piece of language you're going to want to remember in your mind is profit and loss, or P&L. And we prepare a statement. And to do that, we've got to organize all the expenses into tax-related categories. Now, there's all kinds of vocabulary used to describe tax-related categories. One of them is called chart of accounts. It's a very complex way of approaching it, and I don't like using that phrase. But if you want to sound like you're a professional in the world and you're talking to other people that are blah, 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 they may call it the chart of accounts. In our situation, we don't have a fixed chart of accounts. It can be more fluid. So what I like to do is teach it by principle. The principle is we need to identify what this Walmart expense was for $31.17. And we need to identify it in a way that the tax accountant can recognize it, all right? So since this is somebody we've trained well, and they're using only their business card, their business related, they're only using this is only a business account, then I'm gonna expect that this is supplies. Does that make sense? Guy went to Walmart, spent $31, and knowing the type of business he or she's in, I think he's in real estate. Yeah, so he probably got some paper binders, folders, something like that, got some supplies at Walmart, right? I go to the next entry item, and it's NOLO. Well, NOLO press can be something in the legal area or something in marketing. I happen to know for this guy, it's a marketing expense, okay? So what I've done is I've said supplies and marketing, and then Home Depot, he's got some materials at Home Depot because he helped one of his clients put a shed up and patch a hole so they could get through an appraisal or something. The tailgaters at Peoria. What do you think tailgaters at Peoria is? What is it? See if I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, a bar or a restaurant?
Yeah, it's a bar, right? So it's meals, right? And I'm going to teach you more about how to track meals because there's like 3 kinds of meals we're going to track, but we're going to call it a meal for now. The 500 Club is also a meals place, kind of a club up here in Peoria. Fry's Market, he's got some groceries. Now, one of the reasons I track groceries is because real estate agents will buy groceries for what? When would a real estate agent, go ahead.
I was going to say to clients, like for a home or an open house.
For an open house, exactly. Real estate agents serve cookies and ribs, and depends on the, if you're in Scottsdale, Arizona, high-end houses, then my heavens, you may have a caterer come in to attract people just to see this $2.5 million house, right? Which right now in Scottsdale, $2.5 million house is about 440 square feet, needs a roof. That's what it looks like to me. That's a joke, but oh my gosh, real estate values are going through the top. Okay, ARMLS, what's that? Well, that's a license related issue. That's their MLS thing, okay? All right, so you can see what I'm doing. Now, here's the problem. I'm hand entering every single one of those things until we get down to here, right? So I got 160 lines that I got to deal with. Now, I'm going to do the magic baker oven thing, and I'm going to go get what I already did. And I'll drag these down for you. Okay, so that's what would have happened if you'd use the robot we're talking about. Is zip, we're done, right? And then, so what I just did, I just showed you, we got to hand by hand go through every one of these things and pick out and identify what they are. Identify their tax codes, which can also be called the chart of accounts, or it can be called the tax related, I don't know, it's what the accountant needs to know when they're putting the tax return together, right? So I'm going to pause for a moment. You guys are welcome to ask questions anytime, but let me pause and see if there's anything else you got in your mind right now. Sydney, shake her head. I don't see any other heads. Brenda, you doing okay? Shaking, nodding her head. Okay, Frank, I haven't heard much from you. Let's see. How about Tucker? Are you on?
I am. Yep, and I'm doing great.
We're tracking
Thanks,
okay. We're tracking okay there, Mr. Tucker. Okay?
Yep, everything's looking great.
All right. All right. Well, great. Who's this?
You. Move, get in here now.
Uh-oh.
It's Kim. Go get another one.
I can't tell who that is, but hang on.
Cool it down.
Somebody needs to close their mouth. I don't know why. Let's see.
Lay down.
So Larry, first off, Charles Anthony just had a question in the chat. But my question was, are these set specific categories that they look for with taxes, or can you assign any category?
Yes and no. Okay, so let me tell you, honestly, what I'm hoping is that you guys will refer me, your clients, to your tax prep. And there's multiple, that's why I'm teaching the class is, hey, you know, I want to help you. I'm hoping, you know, scratch one back, right? So in my situation, I'm a little more flexible. If you're working, it's a personality type of the tax preparer. Some CPAs only accept a chart of accounts that they preset and pre-approved. If you're working with somebody they're going to refer to a CPA, you really want to get their chart of accounts from them. You want to use that language, right? And they can be difficult to work with. In my situation, what I'll do is, it'll be in a couple of weeks, I'll show you what the chart of accounts looks like the IRS tends to use. And then we'll talk about how we still need to have extra things, right? So for example, communications right now is not well covered, and web subscriptions are not well covered in the IRS. And so I just always have a separate category for cell phones, internet, and any other communication expenses. And I always have a separate category for web services. Web subscriptions and web services are a big expense for a lot of people, and that should be new. It should be called out. So yes, there are standards in accounting, and yes, there are standards with the IRS, but we don't have to be bulletproof in those. And what we most need to do is provide a good picture of what the expenses were for, and bring those together into batches that are usable sizes. So I don't want one monthly entry well, it would be okay on a monthly basis, but I don't want one entry at the end of the year for a certain item, right? You know, I can't think of something that's not recurring, but I don't want one entry, right? Tires, right? The guy says, oh, I bought $400 in tires. I wouldn't leave that as tires. I'd leave that as what? Vehicle expense, right? So, but we can kind of make it up for ourselves as long as that's useful for the person who's preparing the tax return, and they can kind of track it. I tell my clients, look, you put anything on that category you want, and if I have any questions, I'll just come back to you and figure it out. There's a couple of things we need to be very specific about, and we'll get into it in more depth. One of them is vehicle expenses. There's a whole lot of vehicle expenses that we should lump together because they're covered under the 55 approximate cent per mile deduction. I don't know if you guys know about this, but if you track your mileage, you get a deduction for your mileage. But you don't get deduction and repairs and gas and maintenance. Those are all considered part of that 55 cents a mile, right? So what we do is any vehicle expenses that would be equal to miles, we put those into a single category. But if we have a vehicle expense that's not part of the miles, like an accident repair, a theft or loss damage, I'm going to take that out, and we'll train on that. You'll get comfortable with it. So the other one is insurance. People have 19 different kinds of insurance, and there's only a couple of those types of insurance that tend to really work in the deductibility range. For example, auto insurance would not be typically deductible on its own because you can deduct mileage. Oh, this is helping at all. And health insurance is deductible, but it's got to be separated out as a self-employed deduction. It's not part of their business expense. So we want to be careful about a couple things. And one of them is how we treat vehicles. The second one is how we treat insurance. And the third one this year is Yahoo. There's 100% deduction for business-related meals that are consumed from a restaurant. Now, I don't know whether that's part of Uber or door-to-door or what are those? Sorry, DoorDash, I think they're called, right? I don't know if that counts. I think it would, right? I think that you're consuming a meal. It's you're paying a restaurant to do it, but there's 100% deduction this year for restaurant meals. So you definitely want to separate out restaurant meals from non-restaurant meals that are going to be deductible, right? It's stuff like that. Those minor nuances we will cover, and frankly, if you get them close, you're in pretty good shape. You know what we get down to, and what I explain to my clients all the time is the IRS is what I encourage my clients to do is I say, look, take the deductions you can defend, but some of those deductions you may not be able to prove at some later date. There's a difference between what's a defensible deduction and provable, like you go to court, but what goes wrong? Well, if you have a decent reason to take a deduction and they later deny it, then what you end up with is you got to pay some of it back. But if you never take the deduction, you don't have the chance. So I probably went too far on that, but I don't know. Is that helpful? If you ask me a question, I'll go on for 20 minutes. I'm in trouble. Thank you, Kimberly. Anybody else?
Yeah, that makes sense. There was another question that came in right at the same time I was asking, but it was somebody typed it in.
Yeah, and I can't see the chat, guys. When I'm in screen share, I don't know where it is.
Oh,
yeah.
It was Charles Anthony. He said, "How can we get this software?"
Oh, yeah, it'll be free for you for the next 3 months. So I made a deal with them. It'll start in a week or so. I've got to get you some stuff put together. I think we'll go over it next week, and we'll give it to you in the following week. But you'll have access to the software throughout this week. This week you're doing manual accounting just to learn it, and the next week we'll probably get you onto the new software. Okay?
Okay.
Charles Anthony, thank you very much. Yeah, I can't see your comments. I don't know why, but okay. So what did we do here? What we did is we hand manual entered very quickly, right? We did the super bake, like the cooking show. We finished up all of our hand entries. And then what we have to do next is we have to come over and we have to say, okay, the first category I see here is supplies. And then I see a category of marketing. And there's a lot of fancy things you can do with spreadsheets, etc. But at the end of the day, what's effectively doing is it's saying, well, my first amount of supplies is this amount, so I better stick that over there. And my first amount for marketing is this amount, and I better stick it over there. And then I got supplies again, so I'm going to drop that in there. And then I've got meals, so I bring up a meals category. And I'm going to get my meals in, which is, so I got a couple of meals in a row. And then I've got down to groceries. That's a new category we're creating now. And groceries will be $21.62. And I did not do this the food show way. License is another one. Okay. And license. And I'm going to sum up license. It's going to be $349. Okay, so eventually what I end up with, and I'm going to pull this over here because I got to do some formulas real quick. So just give me a second and I'll show you how this finishes up. No, I won't. What are you mad at me for? Okay. Okay, hold on. Oh, I see my problem. Okay. So what I've got now is I summed everything up. I've got fees and licensing of 34, groceries of 21, internet of 259, license of 349, marketing of 7,000, meals of 5,400 bucks. I can format this for dollars and cents a little bit later, but you get the idea. So what ends up happening is we've got multiple steps going on here that I want to be really, really clear about. So when you're doing your own bookkeeping activities, first thing I want to do, number one, I want to download bank statements. And I want to download those in a format that I can use. There are two types of formats that are common from banks. One is PDF. A PDF is a picture. You cannot drop it into software. You do not want PDFs. Everybody shake their head when they think PDF. It's wrong. What you do want is a format that will go into a spreadsheet, and it's a .csv, Charles Sam Victor file, right? And that you do want, because a CSV is it's comma delimited, but it allows for the code to drop into a spreadsheet. That's what you want, and it's a hassle getting it sometimes from your bank the first time. I've worked through with a whole lot of clients, and many times their bank says it's not available at all. I talk to their customer service people, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I get through their IT people, and their IT people say, oh yeah, it's here, but it'll be in some obscure little spot. One of your learning curve issues, frankly, is going to be a little bit about getting through that spot, and it changes. So you can contact us and say, hey, where's the little CSV dot for Bank of America or Chase or Wells or whatever? You can come on. We're going to be having a Facebook group. We'll share resources and such there. That's been a challenge. It's a challenge to get those CSV files, but that's what you need. Now, when I say bank statements, what I mean is not only just deposit statements, but also your credit cards, right? So anywhere that they're likely to have expenses associated with their business, we want to download those. Now, to be honest, I like debit cards and credit card statements. I like information that flows from a debit card and a credit card better because it has more information for me. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Maybe. This back for you so we can see it. Hold on, guys. Okay. So when I did this, you see, as you could look here that these are various accounts. B of A is one account. This was another account. This is another account. And each bank has a little bit different look. Well, see, I don't like the information I'm getting B of A. It's all truncated. I'm having a lot of challenges really getting to it. I've got a very narrow amount of information I'm getting here, okay? So that's probably a debit card that I'm getting here. This one up here, this looks like it could be a debit card as well, but it's just a style that's giving me a lot more information. And you're gonna see why that's helpful, but I like the vast amount of information, and nothing we have here, I don't think we got any checks. But when you get down to checks, there's no information on check. It says check number 17 for $444 and a date. That's all you get. And so you always have to ask your clients for information about checks. So my point being is this is data that is downloaded from 3 different bank sources, and you can see how they're slightly different. This is it's coming off of somebody's check card from B of A. This is coming off of a different bank, and you can see it's got a much more robust amount of information. You know, locations, hotel bookings out of Utah, and lister assister, it's just giving me a lot more information so I can do a better job doing the accounting, okay? So my point being is what we're gonna do is step number 1, you're gonna download bank statements and credit cards. Now you can do that a couple of ways with your client. Either you can have them chase it down, which they're not gonna do, or you have to develop a level of trust that they give you at least limited access to your bank accounts. Now they may not realize that that they can give you a limited access. They can contact your bank and give you what's called an accountant's pass. And the accountant's pass will only let you pull information, won't let you change anything, it won't let you order checks, it won't let you transfer money. They just let you pull data. And so what you want to do is you want to get with your client, you have them give you authority through their bank, you'll get a little link to your email, and then you use their passcode to bring down either them or you get the CSV file. Okay, and I showed you what the CSV file looks like. Okay, that's number 1. Number two, what you're going to do is you're going to how do I describe this? Tax codes, right? You're going to look at keywords, look at description to determine the tax code, right? So you look at the description to determine the tax code. And then number 3, you're going to summarize, you're going to sum each tax code category by dollars. Okay? So number one, download the bank statements from banks and credit cards. Number two, look at the description, determine the tax code. And number three, sum up each tax code category by dollars. Okay? So anybody have questions about what that means or what that looks like? Okay? This is the first step, download this information. The second step is you go put in your tax codes, and then you start putting in your horizontal over here. You build out your categories over here so you can then start adding them up. And then when you're done with the entire system, then you add them all up. And the nice thing to do is then put them into a little format that's vertical like this, right? This is how you're going to present your client. Okay? So your assignment this week is going to go to your bank. First, join the Facebook group. It is called Book Keep It. And I will also try to send everybody an email link to it. But join the Facebook group, Book Keep It. That's ours. And that's where we're going to share information back and forth, questions, answers, reports, that kind of stuff. I want you to watch 2 or more videos this week on bookkeeping with Excel. And look at how different people approach it. It'll kick in some more ideas. And if you want to, optionally, you could post some of your favorite videos that you looked at onto the Facebook group with your comments. You don't have to, but it would be supportive of others. And then download your own bank statement. Afraid that you may not see what's going on here. There we go. Download your own bank statement on your own stuff, right? All of January through all of March. I'm not going to ask you to share that necessarily, but what I want you to do is I want you to do some silly bookkeeping. And this way, it'll keep it all confidential for everybody. We can have fun because you guys don't know the categories yet. So I want you to make up your own. I want you to make up silly, fun categories, right? Elmer Fudd's house. I don't care. Just have fun. Silly rabbit. So what you'll do is you'll tag your own expenses with your own silly categories. Those will be tax codes once you learn them. And then what you're going to do is you want to come up with 8 to 12 categories, no longer than the 15. And then when you get done with that, what I want you to do is I want you to add up those expenses, all the expenses, by silly category, right? And then share your completed silly accounting of sums on the Facebook site. And that shows me how far along you're getting, right? So since you're making up silly categories, you won't be sharing any true confidential information, but it'll also be showing me that you're going through the process that is making sense to you, right? So let's review really quickly. Join the Facebook group, Book Keep It. Watch 2 or more videos on bookkeeping with Excel. And I may have some other things I post throughout the week. Post your favorite videos in the Facebook group if you want. Download your own bank statement all of January through all of March. You need to get some volume there, 3 months or so. And then do your own silly bookkeeping. And silly bookkeeping means create silly categories. They shouldn't even be close to be true, just something that makes sense to you. But think of them truly as categories, right? If you got a bunch of meals and supplies, call it Porky Pig. I don't care. But those are your, not supplies. But if you got a bunch of meals and food, call it Porky Pig. I don't care. But make them categories that make sense to you, right? Because you want to be thinking about how your bank statements flow and what's in that information. You really do want to come up with some categories. I just don't need them to be tax oriented. I want you to make up some silly names. And then end up with 8 to 12 categories, no longer than 15. And then add all your expenses by silly category. So you'd have all the Porky Pig stuff. You'd have all of the fancy Corvette. You'd have, see your fun little categories. I don't care, but add them up and then create a list like I showed you. So you share your completed silly accounting sums on the Facebook site. What do your sums look like? They look like, that is not what I want to share. It looks like, here, right? So you're going to have your sums like this, but instead of being, true business related categories, make up 12 or 15 different silly categories for yourself. And then that way you'll feel very comfortable sharing it on the Facebook site, okay? So this is dive in class. What's our purpose? It's to teach you accounting. Are you gonna learn it? You're gonna do it. And when you get broke down, you get stuck, you have a problem, you come back to the Facebook group, you come back to the meeting next week, and we'll go over it. We'll solve some problems. Some people are gonna be way ahead, and other people are gonna go, what, I'm not sure. Perfectly fine, right? We have several weeks that we can work together. But I'd like you to get a sense, this will be the only week you're doing bookkeeping by hand. Now, here's the secret sauce. When we show you the software that pros use, we're going to have right now the software that I prefer will identify about 65% on average of all the tax related attributes of a bank statement just by hitting a button. You load it in and boom, it'll match up about 65% of all the tax codes. But here's what's really cool. You may have to finish out 35% of those codes 1 month, but in the following month, your computer will remember for your client what your previous tax codes were based upon keywords. So that in the second month, it'll be more like 75%. In the third month, it'll be more like 82%. And the fourth month, it'll be like 90%. And somewhere around 90% is about as far as we get, because it's very difficult to really assign checks, Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, these big department stores. We don't really know what those items are. But if it's not a big department store and it's a place they go more than a few times a year, the software will learn it. And so all you're doing, you're going to end up eventually downloading your bank statements, cleaning them up a little bit so that they fit the parameters of the software. You put them in the software, you push go, and it's going to match up between 65 and 80 or 90% of your codes. And that's where the income gets really sweet, because you can finish things so fast. And then you can adjust your codes based upon clients. So let's say that Mortimer, I'm just using a word, Mortimer for this client is a place they eat. But for another client, Mortimer is a place that they buy materials and supplies. You can customize per client the way the tax code attributes fall through. It gets very, very nice. So this week is all about getting you comfortable with the just brain damage of doing manual accounting. I need you to understand it for having a little bit of pain this week. Next week, we'll introduce you to the software, but the software doesn't really make sense if you haven't gone through a few things on your own. So please, please, please do the assignment. Come back next week, and I think we're going to introduce you. I've got to talk to the software provider. I think we're introducing you to the software provider next week, and then you'll be able to learn more from that. Questions?
Larry?
Yeah, Billy.
I don't have a question, but some people are posting in the chat again with questions.
I can't see it, guys. I have no idea where it is. Let me see if I can, when I'm doing this.
Kathy had a question, and Debbie. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'm seeing a chat room here. Okay, how will you use the software? I think you talked to that. Do you prefer to use Excel versus QuickBooks, and why? Oh, yes. Okay, great question, Debbie. Thank you so much. Okay, so I've been at this for years, and what I find is my chuck in the truck type clients, when they come to me and they've been using QuickBooks, they have no idea where they're at. Their books are a mess, and it would take them a very high dollar professional to fix it. And I've done this over and over and over. Almost every time I get a client that's running QuickBooks, we end up getting all their raw data and doing it again. I would say more than 9 out of 10 times, the QuickBooks users I've run into don't know what they're doing. Now, am I against QuickBooks entirely? No, but if you want to get a really advanced training, QuickBooks may be your thing. But what I like about what we're doing now is it's so transparent, and that because we piggyback this other software into play, at the end of the day, QuickBooks is at least $15 a month per client, and that's really, in my opinion, just kind of a bait rate. Most of your clients are probably going to be paying over $50 a month or $50 a month or so per client to do a piece of software that's going to be very difficult for you to learn and very difficult for you to have confidence in. The software that we use is like $47 a month for an unlimited license and $17 a month for a single user, for like a single business doing their own books. So A, I like what we do because it's cheaper. B, I like what we do because it's transparent. It's easier to fix things when you're in a spreadsheet than it is the black holes of QuickBooks. And C, it's so much easier to train when you're working off of spreadsheets. So Debbie, does that help you with that question? I can't see you, Debbie. Are you good? Okay, Kathy Halls Sounds like software similar to Quicken, where it auto-assigns categories. It is better than using Quicken. It kind of seems like it. Yes. So both Quicken and QuickBooks, they may auto-assign categories, but they don't learn very well. And so what happens here is we're going to auto-assign categories that they learn from. And when they auto-assign the categories, it's transparent. You can see it, and it's a whole lot cheaper. So I think that's that question. Yes, thank you. Okay, well, she's coming in. And cool, thanks. All right, so people are coming there. And thanks. You probably have some noise in the background or something, so you're staying muted, and I appreciate that respect. Okay, is everybody clear about our assignment? We're going to wrap up here right away. Everybody clear about our assignment for the week? Okay. I will try to send, I'll send everybody kind of a note here so you can remind it. Somebody, I hear a mic open, something you want? Okay. And, okay, well, that's what I've got tonight. If everybody's happy and excited, I hope you are. Thumbs up and nod and all that kind of stuff. And we'll come to the Facebook group. I'll send you an email to remind you. Thanks, John. Awesome. Come to the Facebook group. We'll interface there. I'll monitor it. If you get stuck, you can come to Facebook. If you get really stuck, you can give me a call. I'll be sending you some emails along the way. We want to support you. I want to see you succeed. If you don't want to be pushed on to go get clients, just remind me. That's the mode I'm in, is to try to help you make money. Some of you are here just to learn to do some bookkeeping, and that's fine. I'll support anybody, but my mode is to try to get you guys making money. And if that's not your thing, just push back a couple times and remind me, because I won't remember. Okay? Frank, you've been awesome tonight. Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything else, or we'll be done? Somebody say something good. What are your feelings tonight about this whole thing so far?
That was awesome. I think it's going to be a little more simple than I thought it was going to be. And not simple, I mean, less complicated than I thought it was.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. John, what do you have to say? John Robinson.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I am looking at it specifically as possibly a business that I could use. I want to set this up and use it for my own books, of course, but I'm excited about seeing how this thing could turn into something that makes a little bit of money for maybe my daughter and some other people that I know. I think it'd be good.
Pretty good, guys. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for showing up. We'll catch you next week. And in between, we'll be on Facebook.
Thanks, Larry.
Larry, I have a quick question. You might have answered already, but the notes you were typing,
yeah,
can we get a copy of that?
Yep, I'm emailing them to you by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.